Ugh.
All right.
More dead than Kuvelich.
I know. Okay, so Ember. Here she is. She was one of our first released Warframes. Her first ability hasn't changed too much. It's still your fireball on cast. You can hold for things with Ember, not just her abilities, but we've changed the way heat procs work, which in...
Oh, yes, we're playing with the idea of changing, heat procs, yes.
Yes, so a heat status chance right now, you get a damage over time and they panic, and the damage over time doesn't stack in the same way that others do. So that is going to be changing, or we're experimenting with it changing.
Yes, so each additional heat proc will add, is it added damage or are we adding a separate one? I forget what we're doing.
Well, it's written down.
Well, we've changed it 4 or 5 times in the last couple days.
Yeah.
Armor strip that goes with them as well that we're playing with. So as they're on fire, they'll have reduction in armor. We're playing whether or not it's temporary or if it's permanent, and whether or not it...
Placeholder name, Immolation. She has a custom meter that shows her immolation state. What this does...
It's really hard to see on the screen, but it's down the bottom right.
You can see it. So immolation, when active, depending on how you're modding, 50% DR, and then as it builds, the DR increases. DR standing for damage reduction.
Yes, so as it builds up, it has a passive build. So as you cast her 1 and her 4, those add to the fill rate of the meter. So if you overdo it with those two, you can fill it too quickly. Her third ability will actually reduce it and also reduce the fill rate. So that you're able to kind of control that meter and hopefully keep it in that upper range sweet spot where you get the most damage bonuses and also the most damage reduction, because the meter feeds into most of our...
You can see my meter is at max, and then it's going to dispel, so we'll talk about that in a second. It killed everyone on that dispel, so...
Other abilities as well. So like for Fireball, if the meter's high, the casting speed will be faster.
Yeah, so if I hit 3 right now, I'm going to throttle that meter down a bit, and there it goes. So you're basically, it's like a meta game within to manage that meter for, again, the best damage reduction and the damage output on her other abilities.
Yeah.
Does her 2 have a mana? It's just an activated ability. It's no longer a drain over time. And if you hit it... So, as you can see, my meter is at max, and then it's going to dispel, so we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Maybe from a bit of a distance.
All right.
Yeah.
So anyone...
This is a simplified kind of World on Fire. It's more focused on...
I'm holding my mouth. My mouse is not... There we go. So they'll go... Go on. He latched on.
Basically, create your own rolling sticky drone that will latch onto the nearest enemy and create obviously a CC plus an area effect shock. You can cast up to 4 of these. So if you hold the charge, you get 4, which also has cool animations now.
So that's holding. That's the hold cast.
That's the hold. Yep.
There you go. So it's a mobile CC that follows you around once the enemies are gone.
So once those guys are dead, those will then obviously start to follow you around again. So we'll
That would be amazing.
All right.
Have more.
Have a
More
rolling
balls.
more balls, rolling army.
All 4 of his mine layers have changed as well. They all have new designs.
They have, yeah.
Yes.
So the idea behind Mine Layer has always kind of hopefully been utility. So some of these are still work in progress, but the idea behind, which one are you throwing?
So that
this is I call it the sticky rip line. So the idea here is it's a trap. It pulls AI in and kind of takes them out of the fight. So you can use these in combination with Bastille. So if enemies are just outside of the range of Bastille, you can kind of cast these and they'll pull them into Bastille. Or you can pull them up into the geometry. Fun one is you can stick to other AI as well.
And they stick to the point, so they tether.
The second one is the nail grenade.
Yeah, so this also synergizes with Bastille very well, or just kind of locks down a point. It's basically the just radial damage. It's kind of shooting out nails in radius.
Yes.
Doing damage.
Yes.
It's sort of like a
So you throw it down. It's a speed boost. So
Yes. So these are basically, if you've played any arcade racer it's basically a boost pad for speed. They're basically timed out that, in the open world.
And last but not least, damage amp.
Yeah.
Placeholder name.
Oh,
We lost
chat
chat.
blew up.
I think we had a power fluctuation again.
I think we did. Are we dead?
Is it possible to create like a pool shot then? Could you have 3 little speed
Yes, you
things
can.
with like angles and go bang, bang, bang?
Let's find out.
You could.
There's one. Let's
Are we
send
still
one.
live?
Yeah.
It's brand new. It is pretty It works indoors, is all I'll say as a hint ahead of time. So you can call down an orbital strike now. So you place your orbital strike point wherever that ends up is where the strike hits from above.
So the idea behind this one, I think, was to help with his damage output. He was really kind of lacking any sort of heavy damage. So this is quite high damage in a very focused spot.
Hammer of Dawn from Microsoft, but unfortunately we weren't able to get the name.
No. So now what is it called? Hammer of Dusk? All right. So if you tap 4, you're now going to place out what you know as Vauban's Bastille. So that is his current 3rd ability on the live build. Here, I'm looking. If I hold 4, it turns into Vortex.
Yes.
So all.
Synergizes really nice.
He's going in. They're getting drawn. They're drawn in. So if I were to
Throw it. 3.
Throw it.
Orbital strike.
come on, dude. There we go. Vortex by holding 4. So you can do. You don't have to do the Bastille phase. You can just do the Vortex phase by holding 4. But you could also just do.
And if you let the Bastille run out its full duration, it actually collapses down to a vortex for a very brief period of time as well.
Yep. And standing inside the Bastille is a team buff as well.
It's an armor strip from enemies as well. So you did these.
Their armor's gone. You can see the.
Yeah. So as they're caught in Bastille.